Let's make lemonade. Okay. Let's go to work.
That's the signal. Go.
Six.
It's beautiful.
Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
Start your day with a jolt of energy and no-holds-barred opinions. This is The Rush, where Travis Justice and Ross Peterson bring you bold, unfiltered, and uncensored takes on sports, life, and everything in between. Buckle up and let's go.
From the Great White North to the wonderful Midwest, it's the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive. You have a number of ways to listen to this show. The first is on the audio stream at therushladio.com, on the Android Rush Radio app, or on the TuneIn app. And if you're doing so this morning, thank you so much. You can also watch and listen on YouTube. Give this channel a subscription. Like this video. Start leaving your comments in the comment section. And, of course, follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And, you know, we like word-of-mouth marketing, too. If you're out and about with people, go ahead and say, hey, listen to the Rush Radio Show with Travis and Ross. It's easy to find. They're all over the World Wide Web and everywhere else. Ross Peterson, good morning, sir.
What's up, buddy?
From Canada.
From the Canadian side of the pond. Yeah, well, I mean, technically, I am on the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods.
Now, so. You've switched it up every single day. You've been in a different location. You're giving us different scenery.
Yeah.
And you're becoming, if we were to remove your face, just remove your face and your body in the microphone, what we have is a Bob Ross painting. I mean, that's really what we have is a Bob Ross painting. Pretty little trees.
Dude, this place, Trav, this place is full of views like that. So this island is indicative of every island up here. Rocks, trees, water. That's it. Every island up here, water, rocks, trees. And so some of them kind of have 30-foot cliffs, and you know what I mean? You have these huge bluffs and stuff like that. There's a lot of places around here that look like a Bob Ross painting. There's even one spot. Speaking of paintings, there is, we will go through Painted Rock Channel, which is just on the north side of Painted Rock Island, which has a giant painted rock. It's got like this old, I don't want to call it a hieroglyphic, but I guess that's the right word for it, right? It's a rock, it's a rock wall painting. It's like, it depicts it shows four guys, and there's a line, and there's this giant fish under the four people. Just stick figures, okay?
Okay.
Four stick figures, line, fish under the thing. Then on the other side of the rock, there's a big line. It's like scene 2. The second scene, the fish is above, the line is still there. The four guys are still there. The fish is now on a pole there's a pole and a line, and the fish is above the ice, vertical. And the four guys are now standing with their arms in the air like that.
So it's telling a story of, hey, you're fishing.
And we caught a fish here. We caught a fish under the ice.
Do you ever question whether the painting is like real, or they're like, hey, let's put some stick people and show them catching fish and say this dates back to like indigenous times, and they'll believe it?
I swear to God, that painting has faded in the decade I've been coming here. How? How has that faded in a decade that I've been coming here? But it's been there for 1,000 years. Anyway, it's really cool, and it's a majestic thing. And here's the truth, man. I shouldn't even have said that because I'm just jinxing it. You can't give bad juju up here. The universe is listening. So it's completely real, and we actually go past it every day and say a little prayer. Please let us have a good day of fishing. And these last 2 days have been freaking. Is
that a prayer or a plea?
Epic. Plea is the right word for that.
It's not a prayer. A prayer is like, you know.
what's the line Brandy Carlisle has? When you're lost, you will toss every coin you've ever had, right?
Yes.
And when you're not fishing well, you'll try anything. And if that means tobacco offerings, literally the First Nation guides will tell you, hey, when you get up here, one of the things that you should do is take a little bit of tobacco and throw it into the lake. Huh? Yeah, trust us. You give a little tobacco offering to the lake will return the favor to you. And you're like, you go, psh, psh, psh. And then you go 2 hours without catching fish, and you're like, hey, where's that chew? Somebody got a cigarette we can break open or something? We gotta get tobacco in this lake now.
And nobody wants to throw the tobacco in the lake because if you buy a log of chew in Canada, it's probably $40 a log.
Did I talk to you about this?
No,
dude,
no.
I got an incredible story. So we're sitting here last night, and a couple new groups showed up last night. One of the groups is from Iowa. Man, I wish I should have got their names. I bet people that are listening know these folks. One of the guys was a principal. He retired as an elementary school principal from Marion. But one of the dudes takes out a can of Kodiak and puts half of the can into his. I mean, kaboom!
So he goes like that.
And so we're telling our story. You know, how was the drive, crossing the border, how many times you've been up here, that sort of thing. And this guy's like, yeah, we got into some trouble at the border. We're like, really? We've run into a few things. You know, you got to be careful what you say and whatnot. And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, I was bringing up too much tobacco. We're like, oh, really? Because I bring up a log of, I don't chew anymore, but I bring up a log of chew for Gary as like a tip, right? Part of his tip is this log of chew. Luckily, I bought it in the United States. Now, that log of chew in the United States, it's 5 cans. It was something like $30-$40, I think, something like that.
Okay.
Wasn't great. It wasn't a lot. A can of chew in Canada is $40.
Hold on.
A can of chew is $37. This dude throws in a half a can of dip every time he throws a dip in, and he's chain dipping. Okay, so for a week of fishing, the guy has 47. I asked him. I even said, "Oh, some of those were for Gary. Like you brought. I bring up chew for Gary. You brought it for Gary." And he's like, "No, I chew a lot."
So he had to go. So he brought too much chew. Did they confiscate said chew, or do you pay a tax on it?
You pay a tax on it. You pay a tax on it. We were kind of joking with the guy because he's sitting there with us and he threw the dip in. And Carlson even said, he's like, "Did you just put a dip in front of him?" Because I just saw you put a dip in, and I totally believe that you chew 47 cans.
Yeah, $40 for a can of chew.
$40, dude. And then here, okay, I didn't even tell you this. When we crossed the border, Carlson decided he wanted to get a bottle of whiskey. So one of the first stores is one of those government alcohol shops I was telling you about, where Raquel was working. Remember me telling you the story about Raquel?
Yep.
So, when we walk in the door, there's a sign on the door. I didn't even tell you about this that says, "Hey, tariffs have hit us hard. We are fighting back. So we are no longer carrying some of your finer American brands." Now they still had Crown Royal.
Well, that's Canadian.
I didn't know that.
Canadian. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Okay,
I believe it is.
It must be. It honestly, it has to be because that's what Ryan got, and it was. Yeah, and then the guys up here were telling us that they had stopped at a liquor store. They were just going to get some beer, and they were like, "Man, they got the American beer stacked up in pallets like they're trying to give it away."
$40 for a can of chew,
dude.
What's a pack of cigarettes cost? Do you have any smokers in your
We
group?
don't have any smokers, but so I don't know. And if there's any in the other group, I'll maybe ask about that.
Damn. Did you catch any fish yesterday?
Oh, dude, we had a great day. We had a great day. When we went to go take off from the dock, Tyrell jumped in my boat with me, and then that meant that Tyrell's son and Eli were going to be in another boat, which kind of made me nervous. Like, as a parent, you feel like you're asking somebody to babysit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was worried about that. So we ended up following the boat that Eli and Tyrell went on, little Tyrell. And those two boys were with Muskie Mike, and Ruben, who's like the legendary guide here on Lake of the Woods. And so those boys had an incredible day. But nobody had a day like my buddy Tyrell.
Oh, Tyrell dancing yesterday.
Nobody had a day like Tyrell. So on my boat yesterday, we got out and caught walleye, caught enough fish for lunch, and then we were going to go after some bigger fish. And Tyrell got a hold of like a 26-inch northern pike, a really nice fish. Not great, but a nice fish. It's big enough that you can take it home. You're going to get a nice meal out of it. And that was like, he wanted to have exactly that. He's like, I want to get a nice northern pike that I can take home. They got to be under 29 inches. This one was like 28. It was perfect. So, man, we were like cartwheels in the boat, excited. We go have this epic lunch. The afternoon, we get out there, and Muskie Mike does it again, man. Pulls in another 50-inch muskie while the boys are on the boat with him. And again, if you're on the boat when somebody does that, it's incredible. Even seeing one of those fish, we talked about like when you get a follow, when you get a muskie to come up to the boat and go around, there's a thing where you're like, that's the only type of fishing I ever want to do. What are we doing looking for walleye when there's these things out there?
Oh, you just dropped your core power. Don't drop the core power.
It's all right. They come with a fancy plastic lid, and if you keep the plastic lid on, you can do all sorts of stuff with your core power, and it says all 26 grams of protein stay right inside the plastic container. You shake it up. You can do all sorts of fun things with it. No spill, spill proof.
You piqued my interest when you said if you're going to take a northern home, it's got to be less than 28 inches. Now, that's reverse thinking on my puny little fishing brain, which I would think they'd want you to take the big ones home because you want to rid the lake of large fish, and you'd want the little ones to get bigger.
No, you want big fish to have big babies. You want big.
Okay.
Yep. And you want to keep those big fish around for the sport of it. That's the tourism industry is the only thing they have on up here. I mean, there's not like when we talk about trying to live up here, there's no industry. Tourism is it. And so they are very conscious about what fish come out of the lake and what fish go back in the lake. This is one of the misnomers about outdoorsmen. Outdoorsmen are very conservation minded, right? We're here for the sport. We're here to have fun. But man, when you catch a big fish, like all of those big fish that Mike have caught, it's awesome to see a guy like that handle it because he catches it. That's the goal, right? Oh my God, I caught this fish. This is amazing. I did it. Instantly, the priority becomes get that big fish back in the water healthy. And when you see that, at first you're like, well, wait, let's slow down and enjoy this and take photos and do things. But at the minute they realize that fish is in jeopardy and you're holding this majestic 50-inch fish, you're like, oh my God, this thing's older than me. Get it back in the water. I have a great video of when Eli caught a nice one of the guys all helping him out with it. But then just epic. And then last night, Mike took Rex and Tyrell out, and Rex caught a 40-something inch muskie.
So do you guys have competitions? I mean, when you leave, you're like, who got the biggest fish during the week? Is there a little
bro stuff going on? We talked about that when we first got here about doing a contest. about doing like biggest fish, biggest walleye, biggest of different species, and that sort of stuff. But we didn't ever agree on it. We just kind of talked about it. So.
Yeah, because everybody's like, well, we don't know what it's kind of fishing, and nobody wants to be last. Because if you're first, if you're not first, you're last, right?
Everybody was like, yeah, we should do it. We just never actually. I think that was when the meal arrived, and it was like, okay, let's eat. Ryan asked if we go swimming. No, the water is not only cold, and there are muskie in it. There's just not much beach at all. So no, we don't ever plan it. I'll shoot a video or take some pictures or something, because there is a beach. It's not much. It's 30 yards of sand.
Yeah, that's not very much. That's just enough so you can go barefoot for a little bit, dip your toes in extremely cold water, and go, yeah, I don't want to do a polar plunge today.
Yeah.
So it would be fun to watch all you guys just do a polar plunge. Just get butt naked and go do a polar plunge. You're looking at me like it's weird. That's what I think you guys should do. Just suggest that to all the guys. Go, hey, let's get naked. Let's all get naked, and let's go do a polar plunge.
Why did you mention the naked thing now 3 times? 3 times you said let's get naked.
Because I think that would be funny. You could just go down to your underwear. You wouldn't have to get you wouldn't have to be free balling it, but you could just get down to your underwear and say, let's do a polar plunge. Let's do an ice dip.
I'm not going to suggest this.
If everybody in your group, who would go along with it?
If I said, "Hey guys, let's get naked,"
yeah, let's get naked and let's do a polar plunge.
I would no longer be a part of the group. You ask who in the group, I'd be the only one, because I'd be a lone wolf all of a sudden. Even Eli would be like, "Yeah, I'm with these guys."
Well, you said earlier that, and I didn't know this, are muskie like, will they attack you? Will they come up and do they have like big teeth or something?
They've got huge teeth. Oh man, you're kind of freezing on me. Am I freezing on you too?
No, not at all.
Yeah, they have huge teeth, and they are they won't necessarily like attack they're like a snake. They're afraid if they see a person, they're going to swim away. They're trying to be camouflaged to stay away. But yeah, I think if you were dangling your toes off the edge of the dock, I'm sure that's happened before.
Ooh.
Lost a toe. Ow. What the? I think something bit me.
Now, do you need the guide to get the fish off the hook for you, like when it comes to a muskie, or are you guys man enough to do that by yourself? Because I wouldn't be man enough. I would be like, okay, I've got this thing on a hook and line. Somebody take this off I can't even take a bluegill off a hook. I get like scared.
We'd teach you.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm teachable. Don't know if I'm teachable.
You grab the back of them and you get it done. So yeah, you'd be all right, man. We'd teach you.
Not very confident in my ability.
We'd get you there.
All right. Can you believe, Ross, the Big 12 football media days started yesterday? I mean, this is getting earlier and earlier and earlier. It's like now it's like the race to who can be first. I mean, it's really what it is. Because you
first to what? First to have a media day. You're saying there's a race of the conferences. It's like being first in the nation.
Yeah, because it used to be like the SEC would be like the first one, and you're like, okay, here we go. And then, people would follow, and the SEC would stretch it out over an entire week. Now, here we are on July 8th, and the Big 12 is saying, okay, we're having media days. And, boy, we'll hear from Brett Yormark a little bit later on. We'll hear from Matt Campbell. We'll hear from Scott Frost. But, Brett Yormark, in a quote that we're going to hear from him, says, I'm paraphrasing here. We'll hear a little bit later on about how, college football is sacred. There's nothing like college football. It's not professional sports. But then he transitioned into they still want to grow their commercial property. Well, commercial property is making, what that short is, hey, we're selling everything that's possible. right? I mean, yesterday it was Big 12 Media Days brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. And Microsoft Copilot was all over the place. And that follows up with, hey, it is the future of college football brought to you by Venmo, because now every Big 12 athlete is going to be paid through a Venmo app, the Venmo Hyper Wallet. So if you're not professional, then why are you doing all these commercial side businesses to make even more money? Because you're a professional organization, right?
It's always been professional. I've screamed this for decades. We were lied to. We were fed. This is the perfect example of brainwashing. It truly is. And it's obvious. It's hard to admit it. This is a great example of so many cliches. Man, it's easier to lie to somebody than to convince them they've been lied to. It's really hard to acknowledge that you were wrong, that you repeated false information. We go through this a lot with politics. When your guy is wrong, it's really hard to go, shit, we were wrong. It's hard. We were lied to all along and still are being lied to. It was always a professional game. People were always making money. Always. Somebody was making money from the word go. Somebody was making money. And then they told us that it was called amateurism because only certain people weren't making money. And then they drew this fine line. And again, they did it because it was an illegal collusion of competing entities. These competing businesses that Iowa and Iowa State football might as well have been Microsoft and IBM. The football players might as well have been young software engineers. These companies should have been competing for that talent. What do IBM and Microsoft get to do for young talent? Whatever they want. Katie, bar the door. They will compete with each other to give better offers to that individual. These guys down here, Iowa and Iowa State, decided a long time ago, if we collude illegally and we set the standard that nobody gets paid, then we get to keep the money. And then we'll create these nonprofits and we'll find all sorts of ways to just churn this billions of dollars in an industry that we have. We were lied to, and people continue to repeat those lies. It ain't the same game it used to be. Why? Well, because now kids transfer. Kids always transferred. Well, now they make money. Yeah, and the coaches have made millions of dollars and left when they needed to or wanted to. The athletic directors get paid millions of dollars to move, right? Troy Dannon was given $1 million, not signing bonus, not contract, moving allowance. You could hire 40 freaking moving companies for $1 million. Oh, but you don't get it, Ross. You don't get it. You don't understand the mass accounting that happens. This is why we can't afford $20 million. A $20 million expenditure? You've been lied to. And Brett Yormark standing up there and going, well, we're not a professional. Remember, everybody, I lied to you for decades, so I got to continue to lie to you. But now I'm going to do these mental gymnastics to justify how we're actually paying the players. Everybody's now making money. All the contracts are public information, but we still have to continue to say, hey, remember, guys, remember, it's sacred. There's nothing like college football. Shut up. I hate that. I hate it. There's no place that grows men like a Hawkeye locker room.
Which you're going to hear from almost every institution.
Every
that
institution.
Every institution. Well, and it kind of started with the talk of the college football playoff. And here's Brett Yormark talking about the college football playoff, which leads into his definition or non-definition of the professional model.
Speaking of the CFP, we continue to believe the 5-11 model proposed by the Big 12 and the ACC is the right playoff format. for college football. We want to earn it on the field. We do not need a professional model because we are not the NFL. We are college football, and we must act like it. There is nothing in sports like college football, and we must protect what makes it special and do what's right for the fans and the game.
There you go. There's nothing like college football.
We must protect it. Must protect what?
He needs to protect the Big 12, and the ACC needs to protect the ACC to do its best to get the most teams in the college football playoff. And I think they say the 5-11 model is the best way to do it. And I agree with him there. I don't know if I want the guaranteed 4 spots for the SEC and the Big 10. I'm not disagreeing with the 5-11 model, but to say you're not professional, you're not the NFL, is just not accurate. You are a professional model. It's just a different model of professionalism that's not run like the NFL.
Just like Jamie Pollard laid out for us. That's what he said. We're just not that. We weren't set up that way, and so we can't operate that way that we right now should probably look like we operate. Yes, that stuff, the playoff stuff, it should be merit based, and I wish that it were that. I wish that it were that way. Why? But again, the best question is always why, right? Why isn't it that way? Because of money. Well, wait, I thought that this wasn't I thought this was amateurism. Thought you guys weren't making money.
Yeah, I mean, the 5-11 model probably presents the ACC and the Big 12 the best chance to get college football playoff spots and therefore more money for said conference. No different than the Big 10 or the SEC going, well, hold on, we want our guaranteed spots. Why do they want guaranteed spots? Because of money. And when you throw money into the equation, large amounts of money, which has really only been, now there's always been money in college football. The extreme amount of money really started in the mid 90s. That's when TV contracts, all that stuff. They made money in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but nothing like you're seeing from the mid 90s on. And that's when everything started to change. That's when the salaries started to go up for coaches, all that stuff. But don't tell me you're not a professional model, because this is just a different way of running a professional model.
Dude, what I would hope that everybody feels the irony dripping off of that. He's got Microsoft Copilot branded backdrop, talking about how this isn't professional. It's Naked Gun. It's Leslie Nielsen standing in front of the fire saying, "Nothing to see here." Remember when we were in the Iraq War and we had the Minister of Misinformation? And the guy would just go on TV and straight up lie like, we're dominating this war. What? Iraq, we've killed 90 million American soldiers. That's an official number. Official number, 90 million. That's what they do. But instead of us going, what? And questioning it more, we go, well, I guess Brett Yormark said it, so I might as well repeat it. This is a sacred game. We're losing the tradition of 18 to 22-year-olds playing for free. It's so dumb.
And then later on, you have a backdrop with Venmo, and this is how we're paying the players. Right. Players are now going to be paid through Venmo, hyper wallet. And then you have student athletes up there talking about the ease of the hyper wallet that Venmo has. I'm like, well, if you're not a professional model, you're paying players.
Yeah. And I get it. I like this argument of, hey, most of them aren't going to go pro. Right. All of them are part of an industry that's making millions of dollars. All of them are a part of an industry. You're right that most of them aren't going to go pro. You know why they aren't going to go pro? They're already pro. This thing of, well, they're all there just to be student athletes. Oh, okay. Well, then the coaches make 30 grand, right? Because the coaches are just there to make boys into men. So we just pay the coaches 30 grand, and then we take those millions of dollars and we reduce tuition. That's what we do then, right?
No, tuition keeps going up.
Yeah.
Salaries keep going up.
Right. What the hell are you talking about, dude?
And the college football playoff is not a race for a national championship. It is a race for more money. And that's why each conference is positioning themselves. But I like the 5-11 model. I think that makes the most sense at this point. Not saying you couldn't, because you'd have to restructure the whole thing to develop an NFL model, which would be, playing for playoff spots. So the 5-11 model I don't have a problem with, but don't tell me you're not professional. 515-517-2303. We'll continue the Big 12 Media Day conversation. Scott Frost making some news as he returns to UCF and returns to the Big 12 Conference. He was there as a player. Now he's going to be there as a coach. And we'll discuss that when we come back on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
The Rush Radio is now on the free TuneIn app, allowing you to enjoy the show on Apple products and Android Auto. Download the free TuneIn app and search The Rush Radio to take Travis and Ross wherever you go.
Your house wasn't built for bats, birds, or raccoons, but try telling them that. At Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions, we've been helping Iowans take back their homes for over 20 years. We use cost-effective, eco-friendly methods to solve wildlife and pest problems the right way. Whether it's bats in your attic, birds in the vent, raccoons in your chimney, or moles in your yard, we have long-term solutions. Call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400, and let's make sure your home doesn't become their home.
The Royal Mile, where everyone's a wee bit British. The Royal Mile is downtown Des Moines' living room with classic pub favourites. Pair them with a glass of whiskey or an expertly poured Guinness. It's bloody brilliant. The Royal Mile, a proper British pub.
There's always something new at Fong's Pizza. The patio is open and ready for you, your friends, and an ever-changing menu of tiki drinks. Or try our new noodle dishes alongside your favorite slice. It's all happening this summer at the new Fong's in the East Village.
Thinking about buying a home? Get pre-approved in 30 minutes with Gary Presnell at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. Gary offers first-time home buyers programs, VA, FHA, IFA, and conventional loans. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know. High-quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Brennan Santone here with Willis Cadillac. It is officially summer. Behind me I have a beautiful CT5 Blackwing with over 600 horsepower and drift metallic. It is available on our show floor. We also have EV Conquest on all of our EV models. We do have some lease loyalty just for owning a 2012 or newer Cadillac as well. And also we have gotten several new CT4s and 5s in. Come check out this summer what we got going on over at our Clive location, or check us out at williscadillac.com.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
The best bread is made from scratch, freshly baked with locally sourced ingredients and love. At Big Sky Bakery, we take great pride in our delicious products. We know you'll enjoy them almost as much as we enjoy baking them. Find us at the downtown Des Moines Farmers Market every Saturday.
Back like a rash you thought was gone. Travis and Ross aren't contagious, but they are addictive. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Welcome back to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Of course, Big 12 Media Days started yesterday in Dallas. Matt Campbell was on the stage for Iowa State. They brought they put the helmets on the stage, Ross. They put not the one with the I State on there. They went with this script Cyclone. So
was it black and white?
No, it was a red helmet with the yellow cyclone. So they didn't bring the black and white helmet. They actually brought the red helmet with the cyclones written on it.
I like that one. I like that better than the I-State. I-State does not signify Iowa State. I mean, it can signify a lot of things. Cyclones is that red and yellow cyclones. That's unique.
Yeah, my only problem with that is that brings back memories of the Jim Walden era.
Yeah,
for
but
me.
you shake. I mean, dude,
I know.
Like,
I know. My favorite of all time was during the Dan McCarney era when they had the bird and the ISU. That was my favorite.
what did they had a name for that? They have a name for that logo. Bird in a storm or something like. I can't think of it. Cyclone fans are clever.
When it comes to coaches, we don't like coaches that are disingenuous and come off as aloof and say one thing. But then when a coach is open and honest, we don't like that either, right? Because, and I'm not going to say we as a general, but certain fan bases. I know how you feel about Scott Frost. You are not a Scott Frost fan. You haven't been, and that goes from the time when he took the Nebraska job. And when he said, Big Ten, offense or defense is going to have to adjust our offense, and it came off bad, and then he didn't have any success at Nebraska, and you haven't been a Scott Frost fan. My relationship with Scott Frost goes back to when he was a player. So I've known Scott for. No, I'm not saying he'd remember me today, but I covered Scott when he was a player. We did a couple speaking engagements together right after he graduated. So I've been around Scott Frost probably more than some, not as many as others, but I've been around Scott. I got a pretty good idea of his personality. I got a pretty good idea of the person he is. I will say this. The Scott Frost I saw yesterday and watched yesterday at Big 12 Media Day is a new guy. And what I mean by it's almost like a weight has been lifted off. When you, like you started the week in Canada. I go, Ross, you look completely different, right?
Yeah.
You look refreshed. You're like, this is my happy place. This is where I'm tranquil. Scott Frost took the stage yesterday. He was smiling. He had this like different aura about him. He made a couple jokes, and I'm like, man, that's a guy I never saw when he was a head coach at Nebraska. He was aloof. He was kind of closed off. He never felt or looked comfortable being the head coach at Nebraska. Now, in one of those sidebar comments, he didn't do it on stage, but he did it in a sidebar interview. They asked him about what he learned. And I'm going to read the quote directly.
Okay.
And this is the quote from Scott Frost. When they asked him, hey, what'd you learn? He goes, don't take the wrong job. I said I wouldn't have left UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. I got tugged in a direction to try to help my alma mater, and I didn't really want to. It wasn't a good move. I'm lucky to get back to a place where I was a lot happier. And I'm telling you right now, Nebraska fans are losing their mind. I live in that world every single day. And what he's saying is no different than a lot of people who take jobs at other places. Sometimes you think you're leaving for greener pastures, and you land up someplace and you're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm not happy here. And I think when you look at Scott's situation, he didn't take the Nebraska job right away. It took some convincing, and it took Tom Osborne, who he played for, to call him and kind of close the deal. And former players are pretty loyal to Tom Osborne. He's one of those guys. You've met Tom Osborne. He was in the old studio.
Yeah.
He has that fatherly figure to him.
Aura. He's got an aura.
He's got an aura to him.
Yeah.
And when you have that loyalty. And I know why Nebraska fans are mad, but I look at this quote and I looked at his body language yesterday, and I go, he's not lying. All he's saying, he's not saying he hates Nebraska. All he said was, I shouldn't have moved. It wasn't. I thought it was the right thing. I was being tugged by the heartstrings. Hey, it's going to be the Big Ten. I'm going home. I'm doing it for my coach. And you get there, and it's just you're not happy.
I don't have my notebook. I didn't grab it, so I'm sorry if I kind of meander on you here because I wasn't able to take notes on all that.
That's fine.
But the first thing I thought of, Travis, and I wonder if that feeling that you're seeing or that emotion change that you see, is it potentially humbled? Is that one of the things that, like, you see a guy, we've all seen that. Like, I think Lane Kiffin went through that. I think Lane Kiffin, what we saw when Lane Kiffin first splashed on the scene, I was like, I don't think I like this guy.
Yeah.
Now, he's still that Lane Kiffin. He's still the goofball, you know what I mean? Like, kind of arrogant, but he seems humbled now. I don't know if it was the USC thing or what, but
no, it's called getting older. It's called growing up.
I think it's called life whipping your ass.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I
called
mean? Like,
maturation.
right.
Because when you come onto the scene and these expectations and you want to prove yourself and you're like, this is the way I'm going to do it, right?
Yes.
And then you get fired because you have an undefeated season. You think you're built up. The fan base is on you. But one thing about a fan base, they'll turn on you fast.
When you don't win, when you don't meet the expectation.
Yes.
Like we always talk about it. So, all right. This now kind of explains what we saw with Scott Frost. This explains why he never seemed like he was engaged, or, I mean, he tried to say the right words, but there was never buy-in from the players. There was never buy-in from I shouldn't say there was never buy-in from the fans, because the fans were always there. Fans were always there. He just didn't deliver for them. But that explains why he was in the back of his mind, he was constantly regretting the decision. He was, every time he showed up for work, even when they had that little bit of success, which wasn't much, you feel that, man, when you're around somebody that doesn't want to be in the room with you, or doesn't, or you know, you see him pull into the parking lot and sit in their parking stall and go, you're like, oh, I don't think Coach is having a good day.
Yeah, and listen, did Scott Frost do everything perfect in Nebraska?
No,
absolutely not.
no.
Not saying that.
But I don't like some of the things he said there, Travis. Like, well, let's talk about it.
You want me to read it again? You want me to read it again?
That's all right.
Okay.
Could he have won at Nebraska?
Could he? Yeah, he could have. But I think when you're not in it 100%, college coaching's a different world, man. And like you said, when you get someplace and you regret it right away, and you're like, I liked Orlando. I didn't want to leave Orlando. I was my heartstrings were being tugged.
I was winning.
And you get there, and then you don't have success right away, and then you start to doubt yourself. And you know, there were plenty of rumors going out about Scott Frost, because that's what fan bases do. Some may have been true. I know of a couple instances that were kind of wacky, because I had a friend of mine experience them firsthand, who just thought it was weird. He had an athletic director at the time in the name of Bill Moose, who was absentee, meaning he was never in the office. So the guy who hires you, convinces you to come back, is not there to support you. He's running the athletic departments from his ranch in like Washington, or he's in a bar in Omaha. So then you kind of like, okay, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And you have your best friend, who's your director of football operations, enabling you without any accountability. Things go off the rails real quick. Leadership matters. Leadership matters.
Dude, we've talked, it's all about the people.
It is.
So, okay, I mean, so laying that all out, then, Travis, this is, again, I'm trying, because when he first said, oh, I never should have took that job, it was the wrong, I couldn't have won there. I'm like, well, yeah, it's Nebraska. You could have won there. But I'm really starting to question it. I really am. And I think what you just laid out is almost an argument for how it would have been nearly impossible to win there. At that time. I'm not saying win at Nebraska, because I think that they've got the resources, and Matt Rule seems to be doing okay. But what I'm saying is, like, when Scott Frost took that job, My initial reaction to that comment is that's a cheesy out to say I couldn't have won at Nebraska.
No, he didn't say that. Here's what he said. Don't take the wrong job. He goes, I said I wouldn't leave UCF unless it was someplace you could win a national championship. So he was thinking he could win a national championship at Nebraska, and he got tugged in the wrong direction
that
to help
makes
his
sense.
alma mater.
I was reading that as I shouldn't have taken that job because I only should have taken a job where I could have won. Then I see what you're saying now.
Yes.
He's saying that was part of my thought process was I could go there and win a national title, and I got there and realized I couldn't.
Or you get there and it's not what you want to be in an institution, right?
Or we're sold.
Yes, or we're sold. And I think a lot of it does with leadership. And I'll go back to Bill Moose and blame Bill Moose a lot on this. And most people won't remember that. But let's look at Matt Campbell, who's starting his 10th season at Iowa State. He has tremendous support in Jamie Pollard. Tremendous support. Scott Frost yesterday mentioned his AD several times and just the support that he's getting. Because even unless you're at the top of the food chain, which – I mean, Scott Frost is pretty high up because he's the head football coach, but he still answers to an athletic director. Sometimes you go through things. You want to go have conversations. You want to bounce ideas off somebody. Say what you want about Gary Barta. Say what you want. I think Kirk Ferentz had that support and accountability with Gary Barta. But it was kind of equal. And I think Beth Getz probably gives the same thing. There's some stability there. There's leadership. I think Scott's problems were leadership at the top, unrealistic expectations because he had an undefeated season at UCF.
Yeah,
you won a national championship as a quarterback at Nebraska, and people thought you're Scott frickin' Frost.
Yeah,
automatic things are going to happen, and deep down, which is human nature, we've all been in situations where we're like, man, this just isn't right. I thought, how many times have you gone on a vacation and you thought, before you leave, you're like, this is going to be it. You get someplace, you're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Travis, expectation. It's the number one ingredient for success. Expectation. What was the expectation? Scott Frost's expectation was going to walk on the campus and find all the things he needed to go win a national title because he'd been at Nebraska. He'd seen it happen. The guys that had won it with him said, hey, come on back. You're the secret sauce. You know what? You bastard. You bastard.
What? What did I do?
You're making me not hate Scott Frost.
Well, I think what can happen is, and we have to keep don't get me wrong, I'm a judgmental person. I'm very judgmental. Ross likes people a hell of a lot more than I like people. But I think as I get older and I've watched myself change as a husband, as a father, as a coworker, I do believe life experiences can humble you and you can change. Now, should he have said, what Nebraska fans want, and Nebraska fans are they'll call themselves the greatest fans in college football because
everybody
they
does.
Sold out. Yeah, everybody does. Everybody has the greatest fans in college football. What Nebraska fans want is an apology. And I don't think he owes Nebraska fans an apology. Are they going to apologize for a lot of stuff that was said about him? No. What they wanted to hear yesterday is like, you know what? It didn't work. I'm sorry it didn't work. I love Nebraska, but I'm happy now at UCF. Saying it was the wrong job, which I think he was just honest. Sometimes we don't like to hear honesty. Right?
No, we don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah. Well, don't tell me the truth here.
Yeah, right.
Why? Now's the time to lie to me.
And I can understand that from a Nebraska fan's standpoint, especially a fan's standpoint. They did their job. They did their part. In their minds, you're the one that didn't live up to your end of the bargain. We had the hope. We showed up with the energy. Dude, they loved Scott Frost. I mean, they were writing freaking songs about the guy. Frosty the Coach Man. What an epic. Frosty the Coach Man. Oh, tell me there's not a God.
That was a TV anchor in Omaha who wrote that song, and I remember seeing that the night they aired it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You've just provided fodder for every news outlet in the country just by writing such a stupid song. And I'm not asking you to love Scott Frost. All I'm asking is, I was watching him yesterday going, this is a Scott Frost I haven't seen.
Yeah, I appreciate
relaxed.
that. Yeah. Humanized, humbled. He didn't look like, because, man, that I think was part of my problem with him, Travis. I never really had tried to break it down before. But I wonder if part of my problem with him wasn't just that he didn't feel like, he felt very plastic. It all felt canned and fake from Scott Frost.
Well, and a big change I saw yesterday was, before, when he was at Nebraska, he never talked about his wife. He never talked about his kids. And one of the first things yesterday, he's like, Ashley and I are happy to be back in Orlando. We want to raise our kids in Orlando. So you sit there and go, okay, the fact that you're bringing your family out in it shows that you've grown a little bit. I'm not saying Scott Frost is going to be successful at UCF. It's going to be very hard. The Big 12 is a lot different than the American Athletic Conference, which he was in before. But he's got a fertile recruiting ground. He may have learned over the last 2 years of not being employed, may not have. There are no guarantees when you take a job. But I think his attitude towards UCF, as opposed to what it was at Nebraska, not saying he didn't start with a good attitude, but your attitude can go downhill real quick. And it shows you the fine line between success and failure. What was it, Ross? He had, in his tenure there, like 20-some one-score loss games.
Oh,
right?
It was incredible. I've never seen it was incredible how they found ways to lose games. They lost in every possible fashion. And that it kind of makes sense now, Travis. It really does. Like that projection that we saw from him during that time, he didn't want to be there. And even when they lost, I think now it almost kind of feels like his response was more like, that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it's kind of, remember Paul Rhodes? When Paul Rhodes would get in, Paul Rhodes is a great guy, nice guy. But you remember they'd get in those situations where the team would take on the personality of their coach.
Yes.
And that Kansas State loss was when he melted down and just totally, and the team melted down right after him. And it's like, if you wouldn't have reacted that way, if you wouldn't have panicked, you might have come through that. But a team takes on the personality of their coach, and sometimes you go, well, we're screwed. And then when it happens over and over again, it just repeats itself.
Yeah, those situations make the team feel like the coach thinks we can't win if that call doesn't go our way. I mean, especially like Paul Rhodes, that one, I really like Paul Rhodes and respect him. He's an awesome coach. Falling to his knees on the sideline, that was a moment of like, I mean, listen, Fran McCaffrey staring down an official, you go, man.
And here's the difference. When Paul Rhodes would do that in victory and celebrate and be that, I'm so proud. You're like, that's passion. That's passion right there.
Both of them are. Both of them are. And they're the same
effects.
thing. Yeah. And by the way, you can't have one without the other. You don't get a guy that pours his emotions out. Travis, you and I have talked about this. I'm a guy that wears my emotions on my sleeve. I have no poker face. If I'm in a good mood, you see it. If I'm in a bad mood,
every day I'll go, what's wrong?
You see it. Yeah. You see it. And I project it. I don't want to. I'm not trying to. I'm a freaking weather beacon. I wish I didn't. And some people are that way. When they're going through an emotion, you read it on them.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just.
You first.
I had this thought in my head about Jim Harbaugh. You know how I didn't like Jim Harbaugh for a long time either, and I eventually came around on Jim Harbaugh. I can remember the moment when I kind of started to come around Jim Harbaugh. It was the first time he beat Ohio State, and I thought, oh, this is a human being accomplishing a life's work. This is really cool. This guy, I think I'm kind of hoping that Michigan wins a national title with this guy here, because up until that point, I'd only been rooting for failure for Jim Harbaugh. And
you've given two great examples, and I thank you for that because they're just reminders. And you gave the example of Jim Harbaugh. I fall in the same camp as you. Is that, when he took the team to Rome and all this stuff, you're like, doing overnight stays with the recruits. You're like, what are you doing? Yeah. But then, they weren't winning. He took the pay cut, and then he just he was still quirky, and he still is quirky, but something switched you on. And a week over week, you're like, that guy's changing. And the other good example you used just earlier was Lane Kiffin, because Lane had this arrogance about him, as you mentioned. Yeah. The USC thing, working for Saban, and that battle between egos there. And then he does a little thing called, when he went to Florida Atlantic, "What's up, Owl Nation?" And it was like that Peyton Manning moment where you're like, oh, you're kind of funny. And we had fun with it. And then he gets to USC, and then he starts kind of in a playful way. It's all how you interpret it. And you're like, oh, he's kind of playing, and he's having fun, and I think he laughs at himself, and it humanizes you, and you go, okay, I can like this guy.
Dude, the Peyton Manning thing. This is why I love our conversations, because that's another great comparison or analogy there of how Peyton Manning on Saturday Night Live, when he started chucking footballs at those little kids, and that was the moment you're like, oh, he's not just some football nerd. He's not just some dork that is a robot that plays quarterback. He's funny. He's got a personality. It humanizes guys. I think with coaches, the three that we've talked about there, Harbaugh and Lane Kiffin, and now maybe I haven't seen the Scott Frosting yet. I do think that the word is humbled. I think that something happens with them where they go, oh, my farts do stink. I don't know. I don't know what happens where they don't have the success that they were anticipating in a certain position. And then it goes, okay, this is harder than I thought. I did have some things go my way. I got to figure this out. It's dog eat dog world. Wearing these milk bone underwear sucks.
It's life experience is what it is. And you just go, okay, I'm a little bit older, and I don't take myself as serious. Scott hasn't done that to the point where a Jim Harbaugh or a Lane Kiffin. But all I'm saying is his demeanor yesterday, I'm like, oh, you look and sound different. And he isn't talking about Nebraska here, but he's talking about the rebuild, because I got up this morning to edit all this stuff. I might as well play it. But he's talking about just basically starting over at UCF.
I think we had 48 scholarship players on the team when I got there. So it's going to be almost a complete reset. I think we have close to 70 new football players in our program. That being said, almost every one of them is new to me since I just got there. We have a lot of work to do to make sure we get to know each other and take a collection of individuals and turn them into a cohesive unit. And that doesn't just happen. We have to be very intentional about that. I guess the good side of that is we were able to, flip the roster and bring kids in largely that fit us from a scheme standpoint and from a character and culture standpoint. And it's been fun watching that group of guys come together.
You may sit there and go, he doesn't look that much different. He sounds the same.
No, he does. No. Exact opposite. I even made it my full screen so I totally see what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, just he talked with a smile on his face. He kind of the way you posture yourself. Remember his last Big Ten media days? He just sat down. He was silent. He was like, ask questions. He didn't want to be there. Here he's like talking about his team. All right.
Seems relaxed, Travis. You nailed it, man. There's a different feel from that.
515-517-2303. What are you looking at me like that for?
Making me not hate Scott Frost. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
That's a reference back to yesterday's show. It is the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive.
The Rush Radio is now on the free TuneIn app, allowing you to enjoy the show on Apple products and Android Auto. Download the free TuneIn app and search The Rush Radio to take Travis and Ross wherever you go.
Your house wasn't built for bats, birds, or raccoons, but try telling them that. At Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions, we've been helping Iowans take back their homes for over 20 years. We use cost-effective, eco-friendly methods to solve wildlife and pest problems the right way. Whether it's bats in your attic, birds in the vent, raccoons in your chimney, or moles in your yard, we have long-term solutions. Call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400, and let's make sure your home doesn't become their home.
Hey everybody, Mason Miller, sales manager out here at Willis Infinity. We have some great stuff going on this month. Right now you can get $4,000 off a brand new QX80, 2.9% out to 60 months. On top of that, QX60s are doing 1.9 clear out to 60 months, 2.9 at 72, and even an incentivized rate at 4.9 at 84 months. For more information, come see us in our showroom or visit us online at willisinfinity.com.
Largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbocks to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know, high quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Back like a rash you thought was gone. Travis and Ross aren't contagious, but they are addictive. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Hour number 2 of the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Need a new Cadillac? Need a new Nissan? Need a new or used car? Willis Automotive has almost everything you want. I've been on the Willis Automotive website a lot the last couple days. Getting the itch. May have to pull the trigger. Kind of identified the car I want. I'm going to go to Willis Automotive when I'm ready to buy, and you should too. Thank you for listening on the rushradio.com or the Rush Radio Android app or the TuneIn app. By the way, I listened to the show yesterday on my way to work and on my way back to work. If you haven't used the TuneIn app yet, it sounds incredible. It really is a great way to do it. And the nice thing about it is you can use your Apple CarPlay. You can use your Android Auto. It's a free app. Just download it and search The Rush Radio, and we'll pop right up, and we'll be ready to go. If you're watching on YouTube today, hit that subscribe button, like this video, start leaving your comments, and, of course, follow us on our social media channels. I'm Travis Justice. He's Ross Peterson. He's still up in Canada, going to be there all week long. When do you officially come home? Do you come home on Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday morning, we'll shove off the island probably 6:30, 7 a.m., something like that. I feel like we get going.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a good full week, man. That's a
dude, I'm so blessed to be able to do this and share it with my friends. I've told you for weeks once we got the Starlink, you got the Starlink. I offered to pay for half of it, but again, part of Travis's control issues. So Travis gets the Starlink. The minute we got that, I was like, dude, I cannot wait. This is exactly what I envisioned. If it rains, I might be up in the lodge one day, but I also have one of the cabins that has like a little covered balcony, covered front porch, so I can probably broadcast from there too. So just got to find a place where the Starlink will connect.
If I was a true control freak when it came, I wouldn't have said this is mine. You're gonna have to find a way to do it.
Yeah, but you wanted me to be here.
I did want you to be here, and that's why I'm like, here. Well, we'll share it. I'm just going to take the full tax write-off on it. Sorry. And that's really what it came down to. I'm like, Oh, I could use that write-off. I think I'll just pay for it. Matter of fact, I just got billed yesterday for the monthly charge of the internet service. So I'm like, okay, I'll just take the write-off. That's good because you got more write-offs because you're a real estate agent. You're writing everything off. I don't have as many write-offs as you.
David says it's a bucket list item for me to go up there and fish. David, it used to be I'd be like, well, yeah, it's welcome. I'm sponsoring the trip and we're bringing people along. Now it's like, well, if you can find out what week we're going.
Well, let's have full transparency with people. And that is, what does it cost? I mean, because at the end of the day, you've got guides, you've got food, you've got all this stuff. People should know what it costs to go up there because you are going on vacation. I bet it's cheaper than, like, I went to New Orleans and Mississippi for like 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
I spent, now I had my daughters and then, so I took them out to eat and all that stuff. But I spent probably, $1,000, a little bit, just over a 3-day period, right? I mean,
yeah.
So what are your buddies? What are you paying to be up there?
Yeah, a lot of money. It's pretty expensive, and I shouldn't say it's pretty expensive. It is. Once you include everything, it's so worth it. I should start with that. Like, it is. It's a lifetime of memories. It is. But it's once you include your tips and everything, you're probably going to be north of $3,000 per guy.
Okay.
And so again, I've got Eli with me this year, and there's a reduce there is a minor rate through Ballard's. When you get up here, because out there, we've all had this process. When you get up here, there's a moment where you will be driving up here and thinking, "Man, this is a lot of money. I'm spending a lot of money on a vacation here." It takes about 10 seconds.
Well,
it takes 10. Everybody gets on this island and goes, "Whoa."
I actually don't think it's that much. Now, I'm not saying that $3,000 isn't a lot of money. It is, but that's including your tip for your guides and stuff at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to a restaurant, and meaning that if you pay a lot of money for a meal and you're not satisfied with it, you're like, man, I can't believe I just paid for that. But if you have the meal of your life, you're like, that was worth every single penny. So you have an experience like you're having.
Yeah.
You go, that's worth every single penny. That's all that matters, is if the price meets said expectation.
You're nailing it with the experience thing, Travis. So like the fish, the lunch that we have, it's on a plastic plate. You're holding it with one hand. You're eating baked beans out of a can. You're eating potato salad or maybe some diced potatoes that they've fried up in the pan, and a fillet of fish. That's it. It's the best meal you've ever had. It's because of all of the things. Like, you're standing on an island in the middle of Canada. The lake is lapping against the rocks. You're standing there with your buddies laughing. It's a gorgeous day, and all of that stuff makes that can of baked beans the best can of baked beans you've ever had in your life. And then the fish is that way too. So I usually don't order fish when I go to a restaurant, and because I've been so blessed for a decade to have those experiences where now I take a bite of fish at a restaurant and I go, I wish I was in Canada.
Well, it's kind of like me with Italian food, right? It's
exactly right.
Okay, do you guys want to go for Italian tonight? No, because I have Italian food when I go to Italy.
Yeah.
And you try to replicate that, and it doesn't work. Somebody was asking earlier, how did this all start for you? Because you've been going up there on a regular basis. Was it a radio promotion that started all this?
Helping a guy named Keith Kirkpatrick. Growing up in Des Moines and listening to WHO, I loved the people that run. I loved Keith Kirkpatrick and Jim Zabel and Lee Klein and Jan Michelson and Van Harden and all those guys. I idolized them. And then when I was lucky enough to get this job, one day Keith walked in and said, "Hey, I'm, at the time, Keith was probably mid-80s at the time. And he would talk about himself like he was 110, but he ended up living into his mid-90s. I ended up getting to know Keith really well. And Keith had been a part of the Walleye Connection up here with the Ballards family for a long time. He'd been coming up, doing bus trips up here to the resort. And he was kind of starting to get older. And he said, I really need somebody to go on these trips with me that can help me out with stuff, that can just help me with talking to people and moving people around. And is this something, do you like fishing? I was like, yeah, I love it. Fishing. I love it. So I started going with Keith. And then about the second or third year that Keith and I went up to the resort in Badette, Gary Moeller, who was one of the general managers of the resort, came up.
Not the head coach of Michigan.
Not the head coach of Michigan. No, way cooler. So GM comes up to Keith and says, hey, Keith, we just bought this island out in Canada, and I think I want to start having you do some trips out to the island. And man, God bless Keith. He said, Gary, I think I'm too old to do that. That's too much for me. But this guy here, he's the guy that you want to have do that. And Gary was like, hey, I'm Gary. I'm Ross. And
the rest is history.
And every time I see Gary, I thank him for these lifetime of memories that I get to create.
Who you should take up there is Derek from New Sharon. Derek, welcome to the Rush Radio Show. You need to go to Canada with Ross.
I would love it. I would. I just caught me a 6.5 pound bass yesterday, Peterson.
Nice.
Whew. Hey, how is our 51st state doing up there anyway?
They could really use that, Derek. Really, they could use our help up here.
Hey, one of these days, I might have to make that trip with you, my friend.
That would be epic.
How much beer can I get across the line?
Well, you can bring as much as you want. You're just going to have to pay the duty. But I think each person is allowed, I think it's a case of beer. Maybe it's 2 cases of beer.
Oh, I can't bring a U-Haul with a cow tank and a bunch of ice in the back?
That would be funny. What do you got back there? I got Busch Light on ice right now.
Do you have any alcohol you'd like to declare? Well, would you like to look in the trailer? No,
man, that would I'm going to have to make that trip as soon as I get rid of this arthritis. Might have to make that trip with you, my friend.
I'd love that, Derek. You'd be a welcomed addition to the crew for sure.
A lot of people saying you can't afford the 3K though, Derek.
Gee.
I know they're taking a shot at your forklift job, saying you can't afford the 3K. I doubt. I think you can afford the 3K.
They underestimate him.
I know.
I spend 3K every 2-3 months on beer.
Why do I believe that?
Cigarettes are $10.50 a pack. Beer ain't getting no cheaper.
Do you buy the cigarettes
if you got rid of your vices?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, and a hell of a lot less fun.
See, you never disappoint, Derek. Never disappoint.
Do you buy them by the carton though, Derek? Do you buy?
Derek, do you buy them by the carton?
No. It don't matter if you buy them by the carton or not. If you buy them by the carton, you smoke more. It's the same price whether you buy them by the pack or the carton.
Oh, really? You don't get a break?
You go to Missouri.
I did not know that.
It's the same price. Wow. Yeah. If it's $10.50, you're gonna pay $105 for a carton.
Damn. You can't get Marlboros at Costco.
Yeah.
No, you can't, or Sam's Club anymore, right? They're not selling the cigarettes there.
They ain't going to bulk it up for you. Why are they going to bulk it up for you? They can sell the unit price.
All right, Derek. Thanks, buddy. Good hearing from you.
You guys have a good rest of your week. Go catch a record fest, Peterson. Quit messing around.
Today's my day, Derek. Today's my day. I won't have to drive a boat, I think. I can ride.
They let you drive a boat?
You think so little of me.
No, I
So
don't.
little. You're nervous about giving me your $500 Starlink, but in about an hour they're gonna, well, they would have hand over their boat to me. Say, here, Ross, go drive it around the Rocky Lake. It's okay. We trust you. We've trusted you for a decade to do it because we've known you for 150 days. Why not? We trust you to do that. Now you, who I've known for 15 years. Anyway, it doesn't hurt much.
Matt Campbell was up on the stage yesterday at the Big 12 Media Days, brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. Hey, listen, we're no different. We'll put a sponsorship on a lot of things,
but we aren't lying to it. But we aren't going to lie to you and say, "Hey, this is all for nonprofit. We're just doing this to turn young men into great men. That's all we're doing here." No, we're here to make money and have fun.
I mean, and this isn't a knock against Matt Campbell. I really think it's his personality. He's pretty guarded. He doesn't. Yes. He's stoic. He's very particular with his words. And I think that's his personality. And that's fine. But I thought maybe the most open he was yesterday, in letting you inside a little bit of the thinking, and I'm sure he said it before, but it's the first time I've heard it, is when he's talking about the first game in Ireland. Oh, by the way, this is me going off on a rabbit hole tangent.
You're good.
So, Iowa State and Kansas State have won the last two Pop-Tart Bowls, right? And everybody loves the Pop-Tart Bowls. Pop-Tart Bowl is sending the two remaining edible mascots to Ireland for the game. So this is brilliant marketing strategy. This is like, okay, well, we've got the last two Pop-Tart Bowl champions. Why don't we send the Pop-Tarts to Ireland? So they're going to throw whoever wins is going to have the mascot goes in the toaster, and you come out and eat a Pop-Tart. I wonder if people in Ireland are going to think of that, going, these Americans are weird. They bring these funny little mascots and they're going to eat them. You're not impressed by the Pop-Tart going to Ireland.
I mean, just in the juxtaposition of the conversation we just had, right?
Yeah.
In the sea of this new landscape where everybody's broke. We don't have money. We don't have money. We need more of your money. We're going to fly edible mascots to Ireland so that the winner of this non-professional, nobody's professionals here. Everybody relax. We're going to fly edible mascots because, sponsorships and whatnot. How are we all not calling bullshit on this? How is everybody not saying, hey, by the way, are you guys broke or are you flying edible mascots to Ireland? Because those two things would seem to run contrary to one another. Am I too cynical and too?
I think you're being a little too cynical.
Am I just supposed to go, oh, great. The corporate America shines their fancy light on us again.
I look at this as Pop-Tarts going, hey, here's a chance to capitalize and get our name out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Iowa State and Kansas State are getting money out of this or not. I think Pop-Tarts is going, hey, we've got our previous two champions.
Okay, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that Iowa State benefits from it, but the industry does. The Pop-Tarts is not doing this out of goodwill.
No.
So once again, this is my point. Somebody is making lots of money for us to talk about edible mascots being flown to Ireland. And in the same time, we're supposed to talk about how that game puts a university in economic peril. What are we doing?
Well, I wouldn't say economic peril, but
Travis, come on. I mean, I'm only slightly exaggerating over the tone that we received out of Ames just a couple of short weeks ago. And by the way, the overall tone that you've had from college sports over the last 3 or 4 years, we're broke. We need more of your money. We need more and more and more of your money. We need you to buy more merchandise. We need you to pay the swarm. We need you to pay We Will. We need your money. But Pop-Tarts is going to fly edible mascots to the game in Ireland. You're right. The one does not necessarily relate to the other. It's not like Pop-Tarts is cutting a check to all the players.
Yeah.
I get that. What I'm saying is when you zoom out a little, you go, wait a minute. Then where's the money? I don't give a shit about edible mascots going to Ireland. I don't. What I care about is a fair and equal distribution of the millions and billions of dollars that are being funneled into this thing. And the same people that tell us they're broke are the same ones that are actually going to be making the money off of this Pop-Tarts thing. I don't know who it is, but it's the same people.
Well, I mean, everybody. I mean, you do stuff to make money. Obviously,
I get that. But
I mean, Aer Lingus is having a college football game to make more money and to get people to go to Ireland.
But
You're
going
going to Ireland in October.
Not for football. It has nothing to do with the thing, right? And nothing. That's
you're going to visit a friend. But Aer Lingus is trying to say, hey, come to Ireland to spend your money and to tour.
Yeah. So it's not only an industry, it can be used as an advertising tool. It's such a prominent industry. And this industry, by the way, that's broke. It needs your money.
I think what we will see is they're not broke. And what you do is as the landscape changes, you want to paint a picture of panic. And then 5 years down the road, we're like, hey, why are you panicking?
Yeah.
Because the salary cap's going to keep going up every year. And you're going to find that they'll adjust. They'll make – I'm not saying you don't cut other things because it's an expense you didn't have.
Yeah.
That's just part of business. But on a football side, Matt Campbell talked about going to Ireland and starting the season with a conference game against Kansas State and kind of the approach it takes to get mentally ready for and after that game.
You know, it just makes it a really unique opportunity. And so I think sometimes when it is unique, it really Zoom focus. And I almost feel like since January, we've had to talk about this. Not only, you know, man, what does it mean to play a game like that early in the season, but also the travel and what happens post that game. I think if you look at the history of this week 0 game, I don't know if anybody's really handled it very well, whether they won or lost the game. I think they've had some tougher moments post that game. And so I think when you look at this, you got to look at it in its entirety, and you got to be able to look at what are the challenges. How did you set up your spring calendar? How do you set up your summer calendar? How do you do a great job of making sure practice fits, fall camp fits, you know, the lead up to this unique opportunity in week 0? And then obviously, how are you preparing post this game to get ready to play some hugely impactful football games right as soon as you get back from Ireland? So it's really been a great challenge for the head football coach and for our staff to sit together and really kind of troubleshoot this from a multitude of different angles. And, you know, we've really tried to look at it as that.
I like that approach, Ross, and talking about they're doing the history of what happens after that game, because you can get excited about, hey, we're all going to Ireland. It's almost like a bowl game to start the season off.
Yeah.
You win, but you're 6 hours behind. You got to come back, travel. I mean, it's a unique approach to go, hey, it's a fun game. We're looking forward, but you have to look, it's a long season. And
I think it's really smart.
Yeah.
Because this does have an impact, and it's that you nailed it. It's different from a bowl game, or he said it there. It's different from a bowl game in that you're coming back to play really important football games. You have to come back and play impactful games that matter, that affect your record, and it's going to be a challenge. I think that is very smart of them to look back at what some of the other teams have done, what hasn't worked, and if anything has worked.
So, I mean, it'd be interesting to, you know, it's the Farmageddon game to start things off. I didn't cut anything from Chris Kleiman, but college football with Big 12 Media Days almost, God, it's so early. I was hoping we'd get like another 2 weeks, but here we are, diving right in. We'll have a lot to.
And I didn't realize this with Kojins. He says every team prior to this year has actually had a bye week following the week 0 game. ISU plays immediately the next week. That's a tough transition, man.
That is a very tough transition. And it could be worse. My good friend Dr. Rob Zadiska played a game in Japan when he was in college. And he goes, it was
a Nebraska game?
Yeah, so Nebraska and Kansas State played in Japan. And he goes, that was an interesting trip just because of how long it was. But to save money, Nebraska and Kansas State flew on the same plane together. So you had one team at the front of the plane, the other team at the back of the plane. Wouldn't that be weird?
That would be odd.
And then you had to fly back together.
That's a cool story.
But they did that one at the end of the season, not at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
And
yeah, different
and
too.
It's not like you're going to get a week over there. They're going to fly over there, do that 6 hour. And I don't care what happens. Ross, you've been overseas now. It takes a couple days for your body to adjust, and it takes a couple days for your body to adjust when you come back. Yeah. So that'd be definitely something to look at.
Yep.
But yeah, so Big 12 Media Days will continue today, and we'll see if any more news comes out. I don't know if Rich Rodriguez is up today, but there's a number of storylines within the Big 12. Of course, you've got I think 9 teams have starting quarterbacks back. BYU's looking for a new quarterback. So I do agree with Brett Yormark in the fact that the Big 12's loaded. And he called it the deepest conference. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I still think you're a step behind the Big Ten and the SEC. But I don't think there's
fair comment to make. Yeah, fair comment to make. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I think they get multiple teams in? I think they get 2 teams in. It was the 24/7 Sports came out with its Big 12 media predictions. Had Arizona State number 1. That kind of surprised me a little bit. Had Iowa State number 5. I think the Cyclones are going to be there in the end. I think they're going to be competing to get back to the Big 12 championship. And Matt actually talked about that yesterday about what it's going to take to get back to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah. I think from top to bottom, the consistency of this conference, you've got great quarterbacks, you've got great coaches right now, and you've got a lot of great programs. And so, I think, again, you got to try to stay healthy. You got to get on a great run, and you got to be able to, kind of what I would deem, if we're going to get back there this year, you got to be pretty tough. We've changed a lot of things in football, but the one thing you haven't changed is, are you tough enough? And, that toughness isn't just physical. Sometimes it's mental too. And, we deal with 18 to 22-year-olds, and are you mentally tough enough to stay the course through the entirety of a football season? And I think that's a real challenge. So, I think it is really unique for Iowa State football this year, and we're going to figure out if we're tough enough to be able to
Coach speak right there, but not wrong. And I'm glad he brought up the mental part of the game, because getting that far, that deep, it is mental, and you do have to be mentally tough. So just good stuff from Matt Campbell yesterday. Nothing deep, a lot of coach speak, but that's what happens when you get on a dais. But the college football season is here, folks. It's here. It is here. 515-517-2303. When we come back, a little WNBA talk. Caitlin Clark expected to be in action tonight. It is the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's $25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge.
Hi, I'm John Linares, sales manager here at Willis Lexus, and it is summertime, and it's time to roll down the windows and enjoy that nice weather. For the first time in a long time, we have TX available in stock, and we are taking $1,500 off in stock models. And speaking of cash off, we've got $2,000 of lease cash on all ES models, and if you're looking to finance, we have rates as low as 3.79 on popular models like RX, NX, IS, and ES. I invite you to stop in and take a new one for a drive, or visit us online at willislexus.com.
Missing a quality, home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
Looking for the perfect golf escape? Experience links-style golf right here in Ames at Coldwater Golf Links. With rolling fairways, large greens, and unique routing, it's golf the way it's meant to be played. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll love our course's welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. Grab your clubs, book a tee time, and make every round unforgettable. Coldwater Golf Links, where great golf leads to great memories. Visit coldwatergolf.com to book your round today.
Hi, I'm Sean McFarland, Service Manager at Mini of Des Moines. School is out and summer is here. Before you hit the road for your motoring adventures, visit us for your oil changes, get your AC checked out, or make sure your tires are roadworthy. Give us a call to schedule or visit us online at miniofdesmoines.com.
Back to the Rush. Strong opinions, weak filters, and just enough sense to stay on the air. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Welcome back to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Happy Wednesday, everybody. You may have noticed a lot more mosquitoes coming out. Might have noticed some flies, a lot of bugs. Now is a good time to get a hold of our good buddy Corey at Bats and Bugs. He'll take care of your bugs for you. Do it in a humane way. And it's safe for the yard, safe for everybody around you. And if you got those critters too that you need to get rid of, because a lot of raccoons out there, a lot of squirrels, can do some damage to your house, make sure to go see our good buddy Corey at Bats and Bugs. And he's been a part of the show since we started. And good to have Corey, of course, along with us in Bats and Bugs and all our sponsors. So it's good to have them along. Of course, Ross is drinking a Core Power this morning. I think he's actually off getting a coffee right now, and so he can, get all proteined up before he hits the lake. That's what you want to do. You want to get all proteined up before he hits the lake. Caitlin Clark is expected to play. She's tonight. They're taking on Golden State and the Valkyries. Kate Martin's going to be at Gainbridge Arena in Indianapolis. Caitlin Clark expected to be back in action. She's missed the last 4 games. She missed 9 overall so far this season. So she's been hurt or injured like half the season. And a lot of people, and let's be honest, when Caitlin Clark's not playing, when Caitlin Clark's not a part of the Indiana Fevers organization, the numbers drop. The WNBA suffers. They're still getting decent numbers, but we're seeing television numbers drop almost 50%. So as the All-Star game gets closer, Caitlin Clark is a big part of this, and the WNBA needs her back in action and playing. And she's expected to be back in uniform tonight, playing for the Fever. Ross is back. Did you eat your breakfast? Did you get some coffee?
No, I had a little bit of run around to do there. Yeah, so apologize.
But we're talking about Caitlin Clark. She's expected to play tonight, Ross. We had Dr. Jason Sullivan on yesterday, and I encourage everybody to go back and listen to that interview because we talked a lot about her injury and how it's been kind of sold and I'm not saying they're lying to us, as a groin injury, but what we learned yesterday in that interview is that a groin injury can be very wide encompassing in that when you're talking about your hip area and just different parts of the groin, because we think it's, you just pulled the groin and it's a pulled muscle. Well, there's a lot more issues with that. So she hasn't played for the last 4 games. She's been working out, but it's one of these things where what are the expectations for Caitlin Clark, and do they limit her minutes tonight? That's going to be the interesting thing. I mean, is Caitlin Clark going to play 40 minutes? Is she going to play 35 minutes? Is she going to play 28 minutes? What will the
what's your I guess, I mean, what do you think they're going to do tonight?
I think they're going to do what they have to do to win, first of all. So I would think if they got a lead that was pretty safe, you say, okay, we don't want to risk anything here. If she's playing good and not showing signs of injury, but it's a close game, you have to keep her in, right? I mean,
I don't think you have to. I don't know. Again, I'll defer to you on this. You're much more in tune with how important this game is. But the conversation we've been having about Caitlin Clark is the big picture. You got to be thinking long term here. If winning this game is really important, then I think sure, but there better be a plan. I don't think it can be what you said. I don't think it can be we're going to play it by ear. How's the game going? If we need her, then we're going to put her out there. No, I think it's got to be what's right for her health-wise. Do we want to get out there for 10 minutes to make sure she can do it? Do you want to get out there for 25 minutes? Mike wrote 24.5 minutes.
For the over-under. Over-under at 24.5 minutes. That'll be a little over half the game. Charlie does it best. It's 25. It's 25.
So I think the right thing is that big picture and long-term and whatever you got to do to make sure you're going to have her healthy here in a couple of weeks. And I think that means probably limiting the minutes tonight.
Oh, I forgot, and Tony's pointing this out. It's a morning game today. They're playing at 11 a.m.
That's interesting.
Well, I wonder if it's one of those, hey, you know how you'd go to an Iowa Wild game where the
kids?
The kids.
Yeah, but it's the middle of summer.
They do the camps. We're going on a field trip today, kids.
But they do the kid thing because of schools. School field trips. So I don't. Does Tony know why they're doing it? If you don't know, Travis, I mean, you are my WNBA expert.
There's actually a couple morning games today. I just happened to forget this one is at 11 a.m.
Jolie says it's a kids' day game.
So now I'm going to be distracted at work. I've been distracted at work all week long. I'd sit down in the lobby, and you've been in our lobby. I'm like, oh, they've got Wimbledon on. So I'll just sit there and watch tennis. Now I'll be like, what are you doing? I'm watching the Fever play at 11. That's what I'm doing. I'm watching basketball. You gonna do some work today? Nah, I'm not gonna work today. Just give me 2 hours so I can watch the game. So, but I'm probably not alone in that. There will be a lot of people who are listening to the show who will have their phone, bring up their YouTube TV and watch it on their phone. You don't have that luxury. For some reason, you got cell service in the middle of the lake yesterday.
Dude, a couple times. The phone would ding in the middle of the lake. I'd be like, what the? Oh, speaking of our sponsors and one of the text messages I got yesterday, I have a closing happening today with Gary Presnall. So big thanks to Gary Presnall for carrying the ball to the finish line for me.
Who's covering your closing for you? Is Charter going for you? Is you getting him out of the office to make sure everything happens?
I mean, there's not a lot to be done at this point on our end. You know what I mean? Most of the work is done, but Mark's going to go and pick things up for me, I guess.
Nice guy. You know, when we closed on my mom's house, it was super easy because it was a cash deal. I literally had to sign 6 pieces of paper. It was just initial sign. Oh,
well,
that's it?
When you're selling, there's really not a lot. I mean, in the state of Iowa, you're going to have to sell, warranty deed, declaration of value. You're going to sign pest inspection. There's, about 6 things that you sign. A couple of them need notarized. They take your docs, take them to now, buying, bring your pen.
Well, but it depends because mine was a cash deal, so he didn't because he didn't have all the bank stuff. So it was a pretty quick deal for him.
But what I'm saying for selling, it doesn't matter. You're going to sign the exact same number of documents, no matter how the deal is being financed. When you're buying, if you have a VA loan or an FHA loan or blah 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 blah.
Here's what I didn't know when I was selling, because it's been so long since I sold a house. I mean, I've been in this one 22 years, so I haven't had to go through that. But when I sold, I didn't know. I went in like 4 days before the actual closing date. They're like, "Oh, you don't need to be here on closing. Just come in and sign whenever you want." I'm like, "Oh, okay." That makes life really, really easy.
I've had people say that to me, like, "All right, where do I need to be on closing day?" It's like, "Oh no, 3 days beforehand, I'm going to come see you, and then I'll bring you a check." So
that's a beautiful thing when somebody brings you a check.
Works out well. Yeah.
Speaking of Caitlin Clark, who's going to be playing today, last night they had the All-Star game draft. I kind of like the way they do this. In the NBA, it's a little bit different. In the WNBA, they have a draft to where they just take players and they put their team together. I thought Caitlin Clark assembled a pretty good team. The interesting part was, Ross, they made a trade to start the draft. They traded coaches. So the team with the best record gets to be the coach of the team who gets of the person who has the most votes. Well, that's Cheryl Reeve from Minnesota. And Caitlin Clark traded her coach to the other team. One, it's being sold because Collier, the other player who's the captain, she's a Minnesota Lynx, and but let's not forget, go back last year because Cheryl Reeve was the Olympic coach. There was a little tension between Caitlin Clark and Cheryl Reeve in some of those comments. And I'm like, oh, is there am I digging too deep here? Am I making something that doesn't exist that maybe you don't want to play for her? Maybe you don't want her to be your coach. Am I going too deep there? Or
I'm not going to blame. You're not the first person I'm going to blame. Okay? But you're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem? I've always been part of the problem.
No. Hear me out on this. Like, in a way, like when you say, dude, it's all designed for this drama. Like the All-Star team is not selected necessarily. The team's not selected. Just the two captains are selected, and then the captain trades the coach. You're not the one who's looking for drama here. The WNBA is the one who's trying to design drama by allowing this to happen. So you're not. I blame you
for taking the bait.
I blame you for taking the bait a little bit on this. Right. But when you're like, man, am I looking into this? No, you're reading it perfect. You're reading it exactly the way the WNBA wanted you to read it.
Okay.
That's right. That's my take on it. Like it's exactly the way the WNBA wanted you to
take it.
Yeah.
I'm that 50-inch muskie. I'm like, oh, look at that hook right there.
Is it drama? It's not. Yeah. Is it drama? Yeah. Is it manufactured drama?
And I'm probably the only one at this point that I've seen bring up the comments that Cheryl Reeve made last year about the Olympic team.
Yeah. That's where I blame you. But all of the setup, all of the setup is the WNBA leading you right to that. The entire thing is the fact that the player can trade the coach. That was somebody in a boardroom getting really cute. Going, oh, I know something we could do that'll get headlines. I know something that we could offer them. Yeah, feed the wolves the red meat here. Yeah,
because they'll take it. Caitlin Clark drafted Aaliyah Boston, who's a teammate of hers. Drafted Kelsey Mitchell, who's also a teammate of hers. So the All-Star game is going to be in Indiana. They're going to have 3 Indiana starters on Caitlin Clark's team. She also drafted Sabrina Ionescu as a starter. Pretty good guard right there. And Asia Wilson. That's a pretty darn good lineup for Caitlin Clark. I will say this about Asia Wilson. She went down last night with an injury. She had a wrist injury and is going to get an MRI. So we'll I shouldn't say we, because Ross is off in La La Land going, are we done with the WNBA yet? Shaking your head at me. And you should.
I just don't know. Like, again, I readily admit I'm way too cynical up front. Are the Fever, didn't you tell me they're like a middle of the pack team right now?
The Fever are, because, I mean, Caitlin Clark hasn't been playing, obviously. They've had some success with her, but yeah,
but how's
they're middle of the pack team.
It just seems odd to me that 3 of the starters on the All-Star game are from a team that's not that's in the middle of the pack. So you're going to have to tell me this, Travis. Is it truly 3 of the most famous? I know Aaliyah Boston. Who was the third girl you said?
Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell's, she's good.
Okay. Well, she got to be good. I'm not saying that. Yeah, they got to be good. I don't deny that.
I mean, I would say probably the 4 most famous. Well, I'm going to throw Angel Reese in there because she's pretty darn famous.
Is she on the other team?
She's on the other team, I believe. Yeah. I don't think Caitlin Clark was going to draft Angel Reese, so that would have been funny.
Who's the other captain?
Nafisa Collier from Minnesota.
Why wasn't I thought Asia Wilson? She was the MVP last year, right?
She was.
Why wasn't she the other captain?
It
was voted on.
Yeah, it was all voted on. So Collier got the second amount of votes. So,
all right.
But yeah, I mean, but Brianna Stewart's, she's going to be a starter on the other team. She's a hell of a player. But yeah, hey, did you see how the Phillies Giants game ended last night?
I did not. Nope. Out of touch.
Patrick Bailey, a catcher for the Phillies, had a walk-off inside the park home run.
Walk off inside the park?
Yeah, inside the park. Oh, it hasn't happened since 2016. And he's only the 3rd catcher in Major League Baseball history to pull off the feet. Now,
hold on. Are you saying I want to be clear here. He's the 3rd catcher to have a walk-off inside the park home run, or he's the 3rd catcher to have an inside the park home run?
The 3rd catcher, I believe, to have a walk-off.
I've never even heard of a walk-off inside the park home run.
Yeah, it happened in 2016. I was trying to remember it. I couldn't. But it was one of those things. It's the ricochet, Ross. We saw it inside the park home run earlier in Boston, right? The ricochet, and this was a 3-run inside the park home run. 3-run inside the park home run for a 4-3 victory. And it took a ricochet off the brick he goes, I thought I was going to have a triple. And all of a sudden I see my third base coach rounding me out. I'm like, and it wasn't even close. Usually inside the park home runs, it's a fairly close play at the plate. It wasn't close. The ball just took a massive ricochet, and there was nothing they could do about it. You trying to pull it up and watch it?
I was trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to find some information about it because that's incredible. All of that's wild. The walk-off inside the park, a catcher doing it. They're traditionally the slowest guy on the team.
Why is that? Why is the catcher traditionally the slowest guy on the team?
I mean, probably lots of reasons.
And by the way, I said he played for the Phillies. He actually plays for the Giants, so that was my mistake. Okay. So the Giants were down 3-1, ended up winning 4-3 off of his inside the park home run.
I've seen a walk off. I've seen an inside the park home run. Mets had a player named Kaz Matsui, and we were at a game in San Diego, and I believe he led off the game with it. But same thing. Yeah, it like bounced off the top of the wall. Line drive, looks like it's gone, and it's that ricochet. Hit the wall at just the right angle, bounces between 2 of the outfielders, and off to the races.
So just going through some of the stats here, and they're a little spotty, but they believe it appears to be the 40th all-time walk-off inside the park home run. That's through StatHead. That number seems high to me. Does that or when you played at a place like Ebbets Field or the Polo Grounds.
I believe 40. Man, the walk-off part of it is wild.
Yes.
Walk-off inside the park home run. So if there's been 40 of them, that means there's basically been one about every 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years. Yeah, let's say every 3 years, there's a walk-off inside the park home run. What?
So the most recent ones, you had the one last night. Then you have to go back to August 19th, 2016. Before that, it was May 25th, 2013. And then before that, June 11th, 2004. So there was a huge gap. Your 3-year thing was kind of on track, but now we went from 2016 to 2025, so that's a 9-year gap. And then before the 2013 one, you had to go to 2004.
Does it say who any of them were? Are there any names?
And if I butcher these names, I apologize. Tyler Naquin did it in Cleveland against Toronto to break a 2-2 tie. It was a solo shot. That was 2016. 2013, Giants outfielder Angel Pagan or Angel Pagan.
Yeah, Angel Pagan. Yep.
Yeah, or Pagan had a 2-run winner. In 2004, it was Ray Sanchez pulled it off.
Ray Sanchez. That's a good name.
Now, the last time there was a 3-run inside the park home run was 1984 when Tim Tuffle of the Twins did it.
Tim Tuffle.
Yeah.
He probably drove in Dan Gladden and Kent Herbeck.
The last time
Gary Gaetti.
The last time this was pulled off by a catcher, you have to go back to 1926.
Oh, never. Gabby Hartnett.
Benny Tate for the Washington Nationals.
Did you say Betty or Benny?
Benny.
Okay.
Did it against the Yankees.
Never heard of Benny Tate.
The story goes on to say, in a fun quirk, the first time in recorded history this ever happened was a 3-run inside the park home run by the Giants. They were the New York Giants at the time, and it was against the Phillies, who they played last night, with Larry Doyle being the hero in 1914. So the first time it ever happened was 1914, and it was a Giants-Phillies game, and the Giants won, much like it happened last night.
What's that name? Yeah. Well, Doyle rules, by the way.
I don't think I've ever witnessed an inside the park home run. Ever.
Man, the name Larry Doyle rang a bell to me, but I don't know why. I'm Googling it. Nothing's there. Okay. All right.
Maybe you're thinking Harry Doyle from Major League. Hey, everybody, Harry Doyle.
Well, that's probably what it was.
The name rings a bell. It's coming to mind. Yeah. So that's a fun way to end the game, and just crazy and something you don't see every day, obviously. And then you put those other stats behind it, especially with the first one being recorded, being against the Giants and Phillies, adds a little quirk to it. So, all right, buddy, what do you got going today? We got about 8 minutes left. So
fishing, brother. That's what I got going today. Gonna sign off with you. Gotta hurry up, get things packed up. They'll be waiting on the boat for me. Again, today don't have to drive the boat, so I get to just be a passenger princess and focus on fishing and fun today. So that'll be great. And then,
do you go out with you've talked about walleye? Like, is today your northern day? Do you say, okay, I'm going to go after northern, or I'm going to go, or is it all whatever you get on the line?
So you go targeting certain stuff. So we'll go out for walleye here this morning and get enough to have lunch. And then once we fill our coolers, and when I say fill our coolers, what I mean is each person's basically allowed to have 2 fish.
Okay.
So you'll get enough for lunch, and then we'll go out and we'll go find some weed beds and musky holes, and we'll start chucking some really big lures towards these banks and just drifting around these islands. Looking for big fish. So that's
you piqued my interest when you get 2 fish and you're going to eat said fish, right? I mean, so you come back, clean them, and you eat them. Now, if you within the first 30 seconds of your first cast, and you get a walleye. Do you keep that one, or do you say, you know what, I'm going to play my odds here, thinking that I'm going to get a fish?
It's funny.
You run the risk of not getting a fish.
You do. So, yeah, you kind of, if it's that first fish, Travis, you can eat a fish under 17 inches. Okay. So you really want like 15 to 16 and a half is like the perfect 15 and a half, 16 and a half. So if if you're 30 seconds in, you pull in one of those fish, absolutely. You throw it in the box. Yeah. It's got a fish in the box.
So you could have your lunch really within the first 10 minutes of you being on the boat. Then it's just fishing and catch and release.
And that can happen because the morning it can be hot. We had what's called a buck moon last night. It's like the closest thing to a full moon. Yep. Buck moon. So fishing has been really, really fun. The big fish are biting. Yesterday morning, some of the guys were in a spot where they were constantly pulling in fish that were in that slot above 17 inches. They even said like they threw back more fish that were too big than were too little. So the big fish are biting right now, and that is truly because of the moon cycle. By the way, people act crazy during full moons too. It's a very real thing. Very real thing.
Like
very real
people in your cabin?
No. I just mean people in general. Like my mom worked at a psych ward, and she would absolutely attest to this. People that work in prisons will tell you very, very real thing. Audie, full moons are a real deal, aren't they? He said F yeah. He cussed.
Yeah, but the two examples you give,
Audie's a prison guard.
A prison and oh yeah, but you're talking about incarcerated people and crazy people.
They're more in tune with something than we are. I promise you. And the fish are the same way. Dude, you don't think full moons affect people's moods?
Okay, I don't know. I don't pay attention.
It's wild. Pay attention.
Is it like a menstrual cycle?
Well, it's a 28-day cycle. I don't know. I never had thought of that.
You may have just solved your own problems because the last couple of years you haven't had very good fishing. Maybe you need to plan your next trip based around the moon cycle.
Full moon.
That's what it is. All right, buddy. You go catch some fish. Have a good one, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Have a great day. All right, I'll chat with you a little bit later.
All right, sounds good.
Hi, buddy.
Ross Peterson joining us, of course, live from Canada. He's been on his fishing trip, giving us his stories, and having a lot of fun, and you can tell it. Don't forget, Caitlin Clark and the Fever are going to be in action this morning, an 11 o'clock game, so she is scheduled to play against Golden State. That's going to be the battle against Kate Martin. So you don't just have the Caitlin Clark angle here. You have the Kate Martin matchup, which will add a lot of intrigue. That is an 11 o'clock game, so plan accordingly if you are watching at work, which I know many of you will be doing. Tomorrow on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive, Bruno's going to be stopping by, as he does each and every Thursday. It's a Thirsty Thursday. Ross will give him his review of the old tavern beer that he's drinking. So that hasn't been on display the last couple of days. I wonder if all the old tavern is gone. They might have drank all the good stuff that first night in Canada. We haven't seen it. If you're out and about today, stop by and pick up a great product from Atlantic Coca-Cola Bottling. We recommend the Core Power. 26 grams or 42 grams of protein. You can't go wrong with it. It's good stuff. Again, we're back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Enjoy your Wednesday, everybody. This is the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
This is Body Armor. Real hydration with electrolytes. No artificial dyes and coconut water. Choose better. Body Armor.
With over 260 beers on tap, El Bait Shop isn't just another craft beer bar. It's the best. Beer lovers know El Bait Shop, 200 Southwest 2nd, Des Moines.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Are you thinking about buying a home this year? Start by getting pre-approved with Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines to see how much you can qualify for and what loan programs meet your needs. Gary can get you pre-approved in 30 minutes or less with a pre-approval letter to you. Gary offers first-time home buyers programs, VA loans along with FHA, IFA, and conventional loans. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Summer's here, and that can mean extra miles on your car. With road trips, summer activities, and more. Your Volvo will endure extra strain. Stop in now and get a vehicle inspection to make sure your Volvo is in the best shape possible. We'll even throw in $25 off an oil change. Give us a call or head online to willisvolvocars.com to get scheduled today.
Bread is made from scratch, freshly baked with locally sourced ingredients and love. At Big Sky Bakery, we take great pride in our delicious products. We know you'll enjoy them almost as much as we enjoy baking them. Find us at the downtown Des Moines Farmers Market every Saturday.
Back to the rush. Strong opinions, weak filters, and just enough sense to stay on the air. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.